some new legislative initiative which you probably would see or hear about in relations to the news or the newspaper over the next couple of months. This next slide really just highlights the process and the timeline for the governor's proposal. As I before mentioned, as you're viewing this on the web, that the budget that the governor proposed on December the 18th was really just a starting point. And I really kind of want to focus on the third bullet, which is mid-December when she released her budget proposal. Now, the next two dates are really the most important dates. So sometime between January the 12th and April the 26th, provided that we don't go into special session, that we should have a pretty good understanding of where the budget will line up for higher education and for the state of Washington for the next biennium. And with that will probably be the percentage increase for tuition and other aspects that we will have to take into consideration for us to come up with the final budget reduction number here at UW-Tacoma. The next bullet point really just talks about the background behind the correspondence that went out here at UW-Tacoma in relation to some of the about the budget reduction strategies. Starting with April 4th, the governor sent out one of the first correspondence pertaining to the hiring freeze, also a limit in out-of-state travel, equipment purchases, reduction in local travel, also an elimination of personal service contracts. Since that time, we've also had correspondence from President Emmerich, Provost Wise, and also correspondence internally from our administrative and finance operation and from our chancellor, talking about how we're going to implement change and really just launching our strategies for dealing with the reduction on our institution. The slide that you see here is multicolored, and it may be very difficult for you to see on your computers, but I just want you to focus towards the bottom here, which pretty much says from mid-January through March or April, internally within our institution, we will continue to have discussions pertaining to the strategies. But until we actually know the total budget reductions at the state level and its effect at UW Seattle, then we could have a better understanding of what effect it would have here at UW-Tacoma. So just in a sense, it just lets you know how we're going to communicate, everyone who will be involved in the communicate, from the students to the strategic planning committee to the leadership team, the staff association, pretty much everyone across the board here at UW-Tacoma is involved in the budget process. In the next slide, this is really talking about how we got to the point of the 5.5% reduction proposed at the unit level. And really the most important thing is at the bottom, as I mentioned. Even though we modeled a 5.5% unit reduction, the actual reduction for all of UW-Tacoma was really looking at a 15% reduction from Seattle. And how we made it the difference was the vast majority, roughly about 2/3 of our budget reduction was done centrally at the institutional level. So the units only had to reduce by 5.5%. And as I before mentioned, we do have administrators that are here from academic affairs, from administrative and finance. And if administrative and finance don't mind, I'm going to ask Jan Rutledge to come talk to you about this chart because it helps lays out kind of how we got to this point. And as she comes to the front of the room, I'm going to hand her the microphone so she can you can hear her voice and she can kind of explain to you how we got to the reduction here on our campus. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Is it working?
Yes.
Okay. It sounds kind of quiet. When we originally planned on our reductions, we planned at a 15% reduction. At that point in time, we also were planning very conservatively for a 3% tuition increase. We knew we were going to take some of our reductions centrally, and we'd asked the units to take about $1.7 million in reductions as well, and we knew that at that point in time we were going to be about $200,000 short of our actual target. We had at that point in time also planned that as we progressed, everything was still really gray, that we would move closer to that target. When the governor's proposed budget actually came out, it actually planned for a 7% enrollment or tuition increase, which would be about $1.3 million, which made up our $200,000 deficit, which then got us down to the actual reduction we needed, about $3.6 million we would need at a 15% reduction of our existing budget. Question? Thank you.
Thank you.